My girlfriend laughed with her friends. He thinks I'm loyal, but I'm meeting his boss tonight. I raised my glass and nodded. Hours later, I sent screenshots to HR and booked a trip with her best friend. She never saw the next move coming. Ethan, 30, male, had been with Olivia, 29, for 4 years. We lived a life that looked perfect on Instagram. Our apartment in Denver, Colorado, was all clean lines and minimalist furniture. I was a project manager at a major financial tech firm, making a comfortable $150,000 a year. Olivia was a freelance graphic designer, earning around $70,000. We went to the trendiest restaurants and belonged to the right social circles. Or rather, her social circles. I always felt like an accessory in her world. A stable, reliable provider who funded the brunches and ski trips. Her friends were all about status. They measured worth in job titles and vacation spots. I found it exhausting. A month ago, I had been offered the career opportunity of a lifetime. A competitor wanted me to head their new European operations. The job was director level, based in Zurich, Switzerland. The offer was staggering: a salary of $280,000, a $50,000 signing bonus, and a generous housing allowance. It was a clear path to an executive role. When I told Olivia, she laughed. Switzerland, she scoffed. What's in Switzerland, Ethan? Chocolate and clocks. It's a huge promotion, I said. It's a social graveyard, she replied. My entire network is here. She mocked the idea relentlessly. She told her friends I wanted to go into hiding in the mountains. She made it clear that leaving Denver was not an option. Then came the night at the cocktail bar. I was across the room, waiting for our drinks. Her back was to me, but I could hear her voice perfectly. She was talking to her 2 closest friends. Her words, sharp and cruel, cut through the noise of the bar. That was the moment everything shattered. I didn't say a word. I just raised my glass in a silent, bitter toast she never saw. Update 1: I went home that night and felt a strange sense of calm. The decision had been made for me. I emailed the recruiter in Zurich and accepted the position. I told them I would need a month to finalize everything. They were happy to accommodate. I didn't bring up Zurich with Olivia again. I let her believe she had won the argument. She was smug and affectionate, thinking she had successfully kept her comfortable life intact. While she planned our next weekend getaway, I planned my exit. First, I went through our shared devices. She was careless. On her synced iPad, I found the text conversations with my boss, Mark. They were explicit and condescending. They made fun of my work ethic and my ambition. She was trading information about my projects for his attention. I took screenshots of everything. I saved them to a secure cloud drive. Next, I opened a new bank account with a global bank. I arranged for my final paycheck and my signing bonus to be deposited there. I quietly began selling off my personal assets, my collection of watches, my road bike, some tech gear. The money went directly into the new account. I also reached out to Ava. Ava had been Olivia's best friend for years, until Olivia cut her off for being too career-focused. Ava was a lawyer, sharp and no-nonsense. I met her for coffee and laid out the whole situation, including the screenshots. Her face hardened as she read the texts. I'm not surprised, Ava said. She uses people, Ethan. I'm leaving, I told her, for Zurich. But I need to handle this with the company first. You send that evidence to HR, she advised. Don't mention Olivia. Just focus on the professional breach of conduct from your boss. Let them handle the rest. That night, from a burner email account, I sent a detailed report to my company's head of HR. I attached the screenshots showing Mark's inappropriate relationship with the significant other of a subordinate, and the exchange of confidential project information. I booked my one-way ticket to Zurich. My escape was in motion. Update 2: a week later, all hell broke loose. Mark was suspended from his job pending an internal investigation. He called me, furious and panicked, but I didn't answer. Olivia came home in a rage. What did you do? She screamed, throwing her purse on the floor. I have no idea what you're talking about, I said calmly. Mark was walked out of the office by security. He said you reported him for something. I looked at her, my expression unreadable. Why would I do that? I asked. I don't know, but you've ruined everything. That's when I decided to tell her the truth. Not just about Mark, but about everything. I took the job in Zurich, Olivia, I said. Her anger morphed into confusion. What? I told you we aren't moving. You aren't? I clarified. I am. I leave in 10 days. You're leaving me? She asked, her voice a mix of disbelief and fear. I heard you at the bar, I said coldly. I know about you and Mark. I have the texts. The color drained from her face. She was silent for a full minute. Then the tears started. It was pure performance. You can't do this, she cried. It was a mistake. If you'll destroy my reputation and your career. My career is fine, I said. I'm getting a promotion. Yours, however, might be a different story. She looked at me with pure desperation. Choose Ethan. You can fix this. Retract your complaint. Turn down the job, or we are done. I almost laughed. The choice was the easiest one I had ever made. We were done the moment you chose my boss over me, I said. I choose myself. Update 3. The final 10 days were a masterclass in emotional manipulation. Olivia swung violently between rage and despair. She screamed at me, calling me a monster. Then she would beg and plead, promising she could change. She tried to bargain, offering to do anything if I would just stay and protect her from the fallout. I remained completely detached. I had already left her emotionally. The logistics were all that remained. I packed my belongings into boxes, labeling them for the international movers. She watched me, her eyes filled with a helpless fury. On the day of my move, she wasn't there. She had gone to stay with one of her friends, unable to face the reality of my departure. The movers were efficient, and my half of our shared life was loaded into a truck by noon. I left my key on the empty kitchen counter. I didn't leave a note. Flying to Zurich felt like coming up for air after being underwater for too long. My new company had arranged a beautiful, modern apartment for me in the city center, with a stunning view of Lake Zurich. The air was crisp and clean. My first day at the new office was a revelation. The culture was professional and respectful. My team was brilliant. I was treated as a leader, my opinions valued. I threw myself into the work, finding a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in years. I was finally free. Update 4. Life in Zurich was a dream. I developed a new routine. I joined a gym and started hiking in the Alps on the weekends. The scenery was breathtaking, and the physical challenge cleared my head. I made friends with my colleagues, a diverse group of expats from all over the world. We explored the city's restaurants and festivals. My $50,000 signing bonus landed in my account. I hired a financial advisor and invested it wisely. 3 months in, I received a performance bonus for a successful project launch. I used it as a down payment on a spacious flat in a quiet, upscale neighborhood. I was building a real life, a life of substance. Back in Denver, the story Olivia was telling began to fall apart. Her family started reaching out to me, confused. She had told them I had a mental breakdown, got fired, and fled the country after making false accusations against my boss. I was polite and direct in my replies. To her mother, I simply said, Olivia and I had different priorities. I accepted a promotion with a new company in Europe. I wish her well. I never mentioned the affair. But the truth has a way of coming out. People in our old network saw I hadn't disappeared. They heard about my new role. They realized her story didn't add up. The whispers started, and her web of lies began to unravel. Update 5. 6 months after my move, my company was featured in a prominent European business magazine. The article highlighted our successful expansion, and it included a photo of me with my new title, Director of European Operations. I shared the article on my LinkedIn profile. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. My phone and email blew up. The first message was from Olivia, Director. It read, I saw the article. You never told me it was such a big deal. We need to talk. I made a huge mistake. The texts that followed were a desperate flood of apologies and pleas. She said she missed me. She said she loved me. She said her life was falling apart without me. Then came messages from old colleagues and friends. They apologized for believing the rumors. They admitted Olivia and Mark had run a smear campaign against me after I left. My family was overjoyed. My father called me, his voice thick with pride. We always knew you were destined for great things, son, he said. The validation was immense. Update 6. One evening, my apartment buzzer rang. It was the front desk. Sir, there is a Ms. Olivia Vance here to see you. She says it's urgent. My blood ran cold. I told them to send her up, knowing I had to face this one last time. When I opened the door, she was standing there with a suitcase, looking exhausted and lost. Ethan, she said, her voice trembling. Can I come in? I let her in, but I remained standing, my arms crossed. She looked around my beautiful new apartment, her eyes wide with a mixture of awe and envy. I came here to fix things, she said, starting to cry. I was wrong. I was so stupid. I'm ready to be with you now. I can move here. I'll do anything. I just stared at her, feeling a profound sense of detachment. You're not here to fix things, Olivia, I said. You're here because your plan backfired. You thought you could use my boss to keep me in Denver, under your control. When that failed, you tried to ruin my reputation. That's not true. I loved you. No, I said, my voice sharp. You loved what I provided. You saw my success, my new title, my new life, and you want it. But you don't get it. You made your choice on the night you laughed with your friends. I told her to leave. She begged, she pleaded. She promised she had changed. You haven't changed? I said. Your options have just disappeared. It's time for you to go. I had security escort her from the building. I never saw her in person again. Update 7. Her next move was predictable. I received a letter from a Denver-based law firm. She was suing me for emotional distress and financial support, claiming I had abandoned her and destroyed her professional network. I forwarded the letter to Ava, who had since taken a job with an international law firm in Geneva. Ava laughed when she read it. She drafted a response so sharp and legally airtight that we never heard from Olivia's lawyer again. It outlined Olivia's infidelity and her own role in the professional misconduct that led to Mark's termination. Defeated legally, Olivia made one last-ditch effort on social media. She wrote a long, tearful post about being the victim of a manipulative partner. It backfired spectacularly. Dozens of people from our old circle commented, calling her out on her lies. They defended my character. The full story of her affair with Mark and her subsequent smear campaign came out. She was publicly shamed and humiliated. She deleted all of her social media accounts within 48 hours. Update 8 a year later, my life was unrecognizable. I had been promoted again to vice president. My salary and investments had grown significantly. I was in a new relationship with a wonderful woman named Lena, a Swiss architect I met at a local art gallery. Our relationship was built on trust, mutual respect, and shared passions. It was calm, mature, and deeply fulfilling. One morning, I received a single text from an unknown number. It was Olivia. "I know you've moved on it, Rid. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for everything. It was all my fault. I hope you are happy." It was the first honest thing she had said to me in years. It felt like a final, definitive end. I typed a short reply. "Thank you. I wish you peace." Then I blocked the number and went on with my day. Final update: last month, I was a keynote speaker at a global finance conference in London. After my speech, a man approached me. It was the former CEO of my old company in Denver. He looked older and humbled. He shook my hand. "Then," he said, "I wanted to apologize. What happened with Mark was a failure of leadership on my part. He was terminated, and we overhauled our entire HR policy because of what you brought to light. You were right to leave." We talked for a few minutes. He wished me well. It was a strange, unexpected moment of closure from a chapter of my life I thought was long closed. As I flew back to Zurich that evening, I thought about the lesson in all of this. The most painful betrayals often force you to see your own worth more clearly. They push you out of situations you've become too comfortable in. Don't ever let someone else's limited vision stop you from pursuing your own limitless potential. The right people will want to fly with you, not cage you. When I landed, Lena was waiting for me at the airport. Seeing her smile, I knew I was home. My life wasn't just successful anymore. It was peaceful. It was happy. It was everything I had earned.